Welcome to Charmed Life, a radio show discussing spirituality, magic, and the unconditional love of the universe. Thanks for tuning in. And I am your host, Tricia Carr. Thank you for joining us today. If you are watching live, this is a special broadcast time. We are getting ready for the holidays. Jarvis Essex, my producer, is going to be leaving me for the holidays. He's going all the way back home to the South. Where's that again, Alabama? Oh, Birmingham. All right. Well, I'm originally from Texas, but, I mostly claim California at this point. I've just been here longer. When you get a certain age, then, you kind of change your hometown. You keep staying there. Anyway, so we are getting close to the holidays, and I am so honored and blessed that you all are here with me. If this is your first time watching or listening, do know that you can watch live. Typically, we are on Sundays at 11 a.m. Pacific, and you can call in and you can ask a question or a reading or all kinds of fun stuff. So you can watch it live by my social media profiles. You can pretty much find those by searching Charmed Life with Tricia Carr, or my handle is Tricia Carr Charm for most of them. And you can also watch us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/Tricia Carr. I also post other videos up there besides this program, and you can find it on any podcast outlet. That would be iTunes, iHeartRadio. I think I'm on Spreaker. I can't remember. But I do hope that if you do join us, that you will please subscribe, like, share, and comment. I would really appreciate it if you do. I would like to say hello to the Lightworkers Lab. We are broadcasting live into this amazing spiritual community founded by Crystalline Compton. We are hosted on Facebook. So if you are looking for a home for fellowship and a resource to grow in your spirituality, your intuitive gifts, please do find us on Facebook by searching the Lightworkers Lab. I am a head teacher and moderator in the group, and I would love to connect with you there, or my own group, which you can find on Facebook as well. And I have just a couple more things to talk about before... Actually, yeah, I do have a couple more things to talk about before I get into my topic today, which is all about animals. Animal emotions is what I want to discuss with you today, because I've been getting a lot of questions and Spirit just keeps bringing it up. But I want to tell you about something that is very timely. I am teaching a class this coming Saturday, as we are broadcasting this on the Tuesday before this class goes live. I'm teaching it live online, not live in person, live online. So you can join from wherever you are. And also, if you can't join us on the actual days, you can watch it in replay, because if you join us for the class, you have access to the content for a full year, and you're going to want to go into the student portal to access it anyway, because we have techniques and exercises. And anyway, so what this class is, it's meet and work with your elemental guides. So if you are interested in working with your spirit guides, well, know that part of your spirit team is actually are actually beings from the elemental and etheric realms. So this is something, if it's brand new to you, it's the first time you're hearing this, well, you've heard of fairies, right? Well, these are beings, actually, they are real, and they are of these etheric and nature realms. They're basically like angels of nature, and other realms that are very close to us, other dimensions and densities that are close to us, working with us. If it seems new to you, if it seems a little far out there, well, that's just because we've been conditioned to forget about it. We remember angels even if we at some point in our life didn't believe in them. We didn't really know that we could have a connection with them. Well, these beings are working very closely with us, whether we know it or not. Your elemental guides are powerful manifestors. They work with you for abundance. And I am seriously living testimony of this, because since I've been preparing for this class, I've been getting to know my elemental guides, hearing the messages and the guidance that they are always giving me all the time. I mean, and not in any time that I reach out for them, but all the time. And they are really evidential. They really are showing things up in my experience. It's crazy, and I'm just so excited to share this with you guys. It's a fascinating story. All the things that you thought about unicorns when you were little, they are true, and more. So this is what we are going to be studying in this 2-day class, and it is this coming Saturday and Sunday. And again, if you can't join us live, no problem, because we have the archive available all year long. go to either my website, and that is triciacarcharm.com/elementals. That's how you can sign up on my website, or you can go to my website, triciacarcharm.com, work with me, classes. You'll find that, as well as my Empowered Empath course if you're interested in that. If you are a member of the Lightworkers Lab, please go to thelightworkerslab.com/elementals. They're not any different. It's the exact same program, same price and everything, same cost. It's just that if you are a Lightworkers Lab member, then you should be signed into the Lightworkers Lab website, where we have our free library, and to know that you're a part of that community, that's how you want to sign up for this class. All right, again, just the lightworkerslab.com/elementals or triciacarcharm.com/elementals. I hope to see you guys there. It's going to be so fun. It's going to be so magical. And I wanted to tell you one more thing, which is my wonderful friend Carissa Moore is offering some amazing deal on her energetic work. She is a crystal therapist, and she is also an energetic coach. I did her coaching, I think it was last year. Amazing. I just can't even say enough. It's a powerful coaching experience, really transformative. You work through your entire energy body. I think she says it's basically like having a powwow, big spiritual meeting with your team every 2 weeks is how she does it. So I encourage you to go to estesenergetic.com. These deals are amazing. This work is powerful. Carissa is amazing. I love her so much. So do check that out. Well, that's the end of my promotion today. And I want to talk to you about animal emotions because, like I said, I've been getting not just questions. I've been getting questions from people, but I have also been getting a lot of other signs about this topic. And so I am writing a book, and that's going to be great because that'll get a lot of this off my chest. No, a lot of the work that I've been doing, I'll be able to share it that way. But there are some things that have come up, and I really feel called to talk about it. So first of all, one of the catalysts was someone wrote me and asked me, hey, do animals have the same emotions that we have, that humans have? Do animals have more? Do they have less? How does that work? And so the answer there is yes, they absolutely have the same spectrum of emotions. They have access to all of them. And they have a lot of similarities with humans, such as having a life purpose. And, all of it, they have ego as well. They can get jealous. They can get neurotic. They can get mental illness. Of course, when we see that, that's probably not a big surprise. They fall in love. They have romantic feelings. They really do. They have all of the same, like I say, access to the same spectrum of emotions that we do. However, they are different than us. And, they're individual, just like we're individual. Our individuality, our personality is sort of governed by a lot of factors, the nature and the nurture. The nature being I was born with these propensities and a blueprint on the spiritual side of things as well. We come in with a blueprint of a certain kind of mission or overall big bullet points that we want to accomplish in this life. And then some smaller ones too that may be negotiated as we get here. Animals have that as well. And then, of course, we have our physicality, whatever our physical body develops, that's going to influence our personality. And then there's the nurture. And the nurture can be, obviously, all of the choices that you make. That is truly the biggest part of it. Your choices are your beliefs. That is actually what creates your entire reality, including your personality. There is also the family in which you're born, and that is a part of your blueprint because, you're born with those people. You can't really change who you entered this world through, right, after you get here. And then there is, of course, the environment in which you are you are working in as you are coming up in this world, whether you change that or where you're born, your family, your culture, your language, blah, 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 blah. World events that happen, and you probably have some blueprint type of stuff that you agreed upon if some kind of major world event happened in your lifetime. You probably saw that coming before you got into this physical experience. Well, animals have all of that as well. So there is a lot of parallel. There is a lot of overlap of the experience. One thing I want to say is that they are sentient. They are completely self-aware and conscious. And this is interesting. This is actually true about all elements of nature, all elements of creation. Rocks are self-aware and conscious. Plants are completely self-aware, conscious, and alive. They have life purpose. They are healing. They are hurting. They're doing all of the things that we understand that humans do. Again, they have a different perspective. Their experience is, of course, different, and they are individual. They have nature and nurture, and then they also have culture. And then they just have distinctly different perspectives in some ways than humans. Now, I think it's interesting because certainly people that don't really entertain metaphysics or this spirituality to this degree where they would say that everything is alive and conscious and aware and sentient. So maybe someone who is thinking that they're being more pragmatic or scientific, or we could just say skeptical. They would look at a plant and say, well, how on earth is it sentient? It's not speaking to me. See, that is your bias. The plant could be looking and saying, this human isn't paying any attention to me. How are they aware? Because they're just stepping on me. You know, that's an extreme. Plants aren't actually thinking that, really, not to that degree. Again, we're talking about perspective, but I'm kind of giving you a ridiculous scenario so you can understand that our projecting upon something or someone else by our own expectations and our own perspective is limiting, and it doesn't really make any sense. I mean, we can understand that human to human. If you see someone on the street and you judge them, or let's flip it around because it's easier to feel this. If I say someone on the street judges you, someone you are having a terrible day, your dog died, and you are in your own world and you accidentally bump into someone and they judge you for it and they yell at you. I mean, what's the first thing you think is, you don't know what's happening to me today. If you knew what's happening to me, you wouldn't, I doubt you would be so judgmental of me. Well, that's that person projecting upon you expectations by their own world and their own perspective. This is what I think happens when people assume that a rock doesn't have consciousness. Assume that a cat doesn't really have as much emotion because they don't emote it from their face in the same way that humans do. That's just different biology. So yes, they do have the same access to the same spectrum of emotions. Now, here are some distinctions about animals. And generally speaking, I'm talking about the entire animal kingdom, but we're going to think first of the domesticated ones, the ones who are in our family. A lot of what I will sort of talk about today will be starting with the family, the ones who live in our home as our family members. Dogs, cats, birds, you know. And, well, of course, tortoises and dragons and, oh my gosh, there's all kinds bearded dragons, all kinds of animals who actually do live in our homes. But, yes, of course, the dog and the cat are the most common animal family members. So they are more eternally oriented. So humans actually come into the experience having been, we are eternal. We're spirit coming down into a physical experience with the intention to limit our perspective and our focus into something that seems finite. And we are experiencing something that is a bit finite because our body is changing and it has a beginning and an end, and then this person no longer physically exists here. That is an experience that we have. And so we come in with amnesia, basically. We put filters on. We forget about where we come from. We forget that we made a blueprint. We forget that we have spirit guides, angels. We adapt to whatever we are taught and whatever society and, of course, family is offering us. And the reason we do this is because we must survive by having these relationships. And so it's perfectly logical. So we forget more and we forget more. And sometimes we have inner conflict because we have a knowing, and yet we have the expectation from the outside world and what we perceive as the need to survive to be in a forgetful place about it. And so it's very confusing. Animals, they don't really forget. They don't have as much amnesia. They don't really forget. They get the eternal perspective. They live it. They are more present than we are too. Now, when I say they forget, they don't forget it, and they understand it, and they live it. They understand their eternal nature. It isn't that they are sitting around thinking about it either, because they are more present. They are better at focusing on this reality, on this physical experience, with a knowing or like a base understanding of their eternal nature. That seems like if this is the first time you've kind of entertained, you're just going to maybe not use so much of your mind about it and try to just feel how that difference might be. They're very present and committed and able to focus on this moment and this reality, yet they understand that there is a higher or a greater reality of being eternal. They also do have, in common with humans, growth, development. Obviously, they are physically young and they physically develop. They physically develop mentally as well. Their mind needs development. They come in here very young and not understanding. Whether they are domesticated or wild, they still have mental development as well. And they have spiritual development. Along the lines of their spirituality, they have a lot of things in common with humans as well. The animals do have spirit guides. Now, I think that the spirit guides are more oriented in the etheric realms that I was talking about. My class is about, because they are closer to the density and the experience of Gaia, of Mother Earth. And so their spirit guides are more of nature angels. I think this is my experience. Talk to me in 5 years, maybe I'll have experienced something else. I don't ever like to claim I know everything, because this leaves me open to learning more. But just to give you a little taste of that. And actually, when I work with, I'm an animal communicator, so when I work with animals who are very young, sometimes I do have to remind them that they can call on their spirit guides to support them, that they can have that conversation. The reason I remind them of that is because they are in spiritual development. They are always, when I talk to little animals, baby animals, about their spirit guides, they're always like, yeah, I know about them. What about it? Like they're aware of them, but they don't really, because they are going to develop into more spiritually mature through this focused experience of being a new kind of physical being. They still need to kind of remember how to have their own spirituality related to the physical experience. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Sip of water. So being present, having the same emotional experience as we, but also being very connected to nature. So this takes me to another point that I want to talk about. Oh, before I talk about that, actually, before I get into this experience of the animal's spirituality and a little more in depth, I want to talk about my sponsor. I have an amazing sponsor today sponsoring this episode of Charmed Light. So, Zola Registry. This is an incredible tool. I like this so much because Zola Registry is all about love, and as my show intro says, Charmed Life is about unconditional love. It's a wedding company that will do anything for love. It's so much more than a wedding registry, though. Really it is. You should go check it out. It has so many fun and really easy features to use, and what's amazing about it is it's completely free. Zola Registry has all of the favorite department stores, plus things like honeymoon funds, fitness classes, wine subscriptions, and a lot more. They have amazing customer service. Their team is incredible. They will do things like help you to pick out the perfect blender for the couple, or they will even walk a grandma through how to use an online registry. It's so amazing. Really, really awesome. I love these people. You can personalize your registry with photos. You can do notes about the different things that you are hoping to get from your registry. There's also this really cool tool of group gifting, this feature. It lets multiple guests contribute to big ticket items, and I think that's really great because it also allows the couple to register for those pricey items without guilt. It has a free suite of wedding planning tools, like a wedding website if you don't already have your own, but if you are making your own wedding website, then it easily integrates into your the wedding website you already have set up. So to sign up with Zola and receive a $50 credit towards your registry, go to zola.com/charmed. That's ZOLA.com/charmed. Again, receive a $50 credit toward your registry, and you could sign up even if you don't know someone who's getting married right now because it'll still be there. Go to zola.com/charmed, ZOLA. Thank you for sponsoring us today, Zola Registry. Okay, back to the topic, animal spirituality. Because the spiritual aspect, their animal spirituality flows right from that question about their emotions. Something that is really interesting is that being more present like they are better with death and dying. I think those of us who have experienced the unfortunate event of our animal family member transitioning, if most of our animals have a shorter lifespan than we do, unless you have a sulcata tortoise. Those guys live 100 years. So, or if you have a parrot, an Amazon parrot, those guys live a long time. But cats and dogs, they have shorter lifespans. So this is actually a great demonstration of how they understand their eternal nature. Now, a lot of times, if an animal is sort of reacting about their death, it has to do with their humans. their human might be unsettled about it, and they're really hurting about the fact that their human is not able to feel at ease about it. And it's it seems to be like catch-22, because I remember when my Aramis was passing. Aramis was my kitty who passed about, I think it's been 7 years now, 6 years. He passed, and it was interesting because I was having to figure out how, when I was talking to an animal communicator, and she was like, he's stressing out because you're stressed out. And I'm like, yeah, I'm stressed out because he's suffering, and he's asking me to please be not so stressed out and to not be in so much agony over the fact that he's suffering. But I'm like, how could I possibly do that? Because that was contributing to his, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's impossible. And it's true. It isn't, we have to give ourselves grace and allow ourselves our feelings. But a lot of times when I have been helping people with their animal who is in the process of making their transition, who may be ill and they're getting close to the end of their life, sometimes I have the animal beg me to beg their human to celebrate their transition. And I'm like, oh, honey, I love you. I don't know if we're going to get to celebration quite yet when their beloved doggie is passing. So by the way, I am taking calls, 323-524-2599. And I just wanted to share with you a few more points about the animal spirituality. And also I want to talk about their primal nature versus the domesticated nature. So their spirituality, I had an interesting question just this morning from my dear friend Amber Poole, who was on the show a few weeks ago, and she is the Chakra Diva. And she actually sent me a message not knowing I was going to be doing this show topic today. And she asked me, her question was about whether dogs can see ghosts, whether dogs can see spirits. And she's like, I know cats can, so can dogs. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. There's a few reasons why. One is because, they are more spiritually aware. They understand the different realms. They can see them, perceive them like we can. But also there is the fact that their eyes are, dogs and cats in particular, they actually perceive more light frequencies than we do. So some of the light frequencies that we shut out, a lot of young people still see auras, and they see with their physical eyes, they see spirit. I'm getting a phone call. Sorry about that. They actually can see into those light frequencies, and they have no reason to stop seeing that. Children probably stop seeing it because they make a conscious effort to, so then their eyes adjust to their conscious decision. Cats and dogs in particular, birds as well, they have really good eyesight. They can see those light frequencies. They can see colors that we can't see. And as to whether they are, this is what I was explaining to Amber, is they can see them, they are aware of them, but they aren't regarding them all the time. Because again, think about it. They get it. You know what I mean? Like that would be like saying if some person couldn't really see trees, and then another person could see trees, the person who couldn't see trees was like, wow, how do you get anything done? You see trees all the time. It's like, well, I walk around. I know there are trees there. That doesn't really matter that much. It's a tree. I don't run into it. That's about the end of it. So they're so aware of it, but they don't, it doesn't concern them. They aren't regarding it all the time. And this is just illuminates the point that the non-physical isn't something to fear, because it's non-physical. It isn't something that can hurt us. We actually are here with our sovereignty in the physical three-dimensional experience. So we have what my friend Crystalline Compton calls dominion. Nothing can step to us from the non-physical realm. Nothing can hurt us. I think we have this is conditioned to think that we're going to be troubled, or we're going to be damaged or somehow by something that's non-physical. They can't be in our experience unless we allow it, unless we provide a frequency that matches it. So Amber, she asked me the catalyst for her asking me this was she woke up and she didn't know why, and her dog was growling at, I think, the door of her child's room. And so she was like, I wonder if that was a ghost. And I think she said she cleared it and everything, because Amber's clairvoyant. And now, yes. So here's the deal why I think the dog may have reacted to that. Usually they react to non-physical, meaning like ghosts or spirits or something like that, if we're reactive to it. So see, they're not concerned that there's going to be some kind of actual threat, but if the human is uncomfortable with it or feeling threatened by it or whatever, then the animal, because that's what that's the reaction that they're taking on, because they don't want their human to come to any discomfort or dismay of any kind. Does that make sense? Our animals are telepathic. They are always feeling us. They're intrinsically linked into us, so they can hear us and they can feel us. This goes to, now people think, well, my dog is reading my mind all the time. No, he has to spend time with his own thoughts. So he's not paying attention all the time. But he is to a large degree, because he needs to know what's going on with you, because you guys are spiritually and physically dependent upon one another. He's dependent upon you physically, or she. So that's the deal with the animals seeing spirit or non-physical beings. Yes, they can. It doesn't really matter to them a lot of the time. I do have one caveat to that, though, is that I have this story about my kitty Barnabas. He was taking a nap under our coffee table, and he suddenly, for no apparent reason, freaked out, jumped up, hit his head on the bottom of the coffee table, and took off running. But he only ran about 10 paces, and then he stopped, kind of shook his head because he had hit his head, and just relaxed. And I was like, dude, what just happened? I asked him about it. And he told me that he was sort of just emerging from sleep a little bit. He was sort of in that in-between trancey state. And he saw, and he gave me the picture of it telepathically, a really angry large rodent, which I think was kind of a raccoon. And he was like in that fight state of like, rah, he was like, you like that impression, Jarvis, of a raccoon fighting for his life? Rah. Spot on. No. So I can't remember if I reached out to the raccoon or if I just kept talking to Barnabas. What the deal was, the raccoon was passing. He had just passed, but his life had ended in some kind of fight situation, whether he was fighting with another raccoon or he got hit by a car or something like that. Either way, there was this traumatic kind of fight response he was still in as his consciousness left his body. Now, I'll just tell you this, to backtrack a little bit. Animals come to my house to make their transition to the light all the time. They're welcome to. Sometimes little spirit kitties with no trauma at all just show up, and I'm like, where'd you come from? And they're like, I'm just heading to the light. Nice to see you. I don't know. Barnabas is clearly a medium, and so am I. So the raccoon had shown up at this place. Maybe he was somehow locationally proximate to my house. I don't know. Maybe he was from India. It doesn't really matter. But he showed up at my place, attracted to the light or whatever, that the mediumistic, intuitive light of my place. And because I have this intention out of all is welcome in the animal sense. And he showed up right there in front of Barnabas's vision as Barnabas was in this trance-like state, awakening. And for a second, he thought it was a real animal. He thought it was a real physical animal. And it's the second that he thought that, and he hit his head and he took off, and he's like, oh my gosh, that was just a spirit. That was a ghost raccoon. So he was instantly fine. Not to mention the fact that raccoon was really just there for a split second because he was passing. So he was crossing over. So there you go. So there's all kinds of I don't want to say they can see it and they're never afraid of ghosts and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying these are my experiences with them. But one thing I wanted to touch upon, and do we have calls, Jarvis? Okay, great. Cool. I will take your calls here in just one sec. I wanted to just talk about a couple of things that have been really on my heart to do with the primal nature / the domesticated nature of animals. Now, I'm talking about, obviously, the domesticated, the family members, the dogs, cats, tortoises, birds, and all that kind of coterie of being that we bring into our homes. So they are domesticated. Domesticated nature is different than primal nature. Why? Because we aren't as directly related to the energetic exchange of how we get our sustenance. Jarvis, when was the last time you went hunting? He's never been hunting, right? When was the last time you had to grow your own beets or make your own shoes? We are a bit disconnected. Now, we transfer that onto our careers, and we transfer that in a lot of ways. We still experience the energy, but there's a bit of disconnect from it. Nature understands that it's all just energetic exchange. And so there really isn't any judgment in nature, like there is no judgment in the universe, meaning the higher realms either. It's energetic exchange. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because there is something different about the primal nature versus the domesticated. The animals who come into our lives as well as the ones who are biologically altered, meaning they are biologically domesticated, dogs and cats. They are biologically domesticated animals. So what does domestication means? It means that we are not as engaged in being able to go out and be a part of wild nature and be without judgment about how we receive our sustenance. That's very, very basic. Domestication means a lot of things, but it also does mean a certain kind of living situation that aligns with our bodies and basically our body, mind, and spirit complex. If you look at the chakras, we talk about the root chakra. That is the one that is the basic survival needs. So the basic survival needs of a domesticated being, whether they are biologically or it is something that has been tamed, they have transitioned into, they've been able to do that. That root chakra is really not going to be very well supported unless there is a certain kind of living situation. Does that make sense? I think we all know what that means. So just imagine, not to belabor this too much, a domestic cat, is actually a homeless cat if he lives out on the street. So sometimes I hear people say they think that a feral cat is a wild cat. A biologically domesticated cat is not a wild cat. They are a domesticated animal who are feral and do not have a home. That's the truth of it. Same thing with the domesticated dogs. They do retain their primal nature to a degree. So this is why our dogs and cats want to hunt and fetch and wrestle with another animal. And, humans have that as well. Young people want to wrestle with each other. We like to play sports. Those are all war games. And this is probably why, because we don't understand our primal nature that well, this is probably why we still have war. We don't really need war, but with the unexamined primal nature, then I think it still shows up because we have beliefs about what our safety is, what our safety means. Now, our domesticated animals who live in our homes still retain contact with that primal nature, and the main reason that they do is because they are dependent upon humans physically. So they cannot... We bring them into our culture, and we have biologically altered some of them so that they are dependent upon us to provide that domestication. Now, if the ship goes down, if the captain goes down, they have to figure out how to take care of themselves. This is why they retain access to that primal nature. Does that make sense? They retain access to it. This is why our cats, as safe as their environment may be, can still be frightened by a brand new noise because they retain that quick response to threat. Even if they don't need to use it, they still have access to it. But the reasons I want to point this out is because there are a few tips I want to give you guys about how to understand your animals and what to provide them with. Because in Southern California, we had we still have some wildfires at this time. Wildfires going on. If you have a cat who is an indoor-outdoor cat, if some natural disaster is going on, don't let your cat out, okay? Because your cat is going to shift into that primal nature, and they're going to run for the hills, and then you will have lost your cat. So that's thing one. Just a little tip there. Same thing with your dogs. Be very careful if it's the 4th of July. Many of you probably who have dogs, you probably already know this, but dogs are naturally what we call gun shy. They're very afraid of those explosive noises. That's how I actually lost my dog Peppy when I was 17. We had moved to a new place. It was the 4th of July. We didn't realize, because we were new at this home, that the gate had a pretty tricky latch, and he tripped the latch, and we never saw him again. And he'd been with us a while. He got lost. We don't know. I don't think we know what happened to him unless they never told me. I think he just got lost, and then he got hit by a car. That's what my mediumistic communication is with my dog Peppy. Anyway, you have to be very careful with your animals when there are these events that are going on, because this can shift them into their primal nature. I know some people, when they have dogs, and if they have a few dogs, and if something scary happens to the dog, they might start to attack their best friend because they've just been shifted into primal nature. And then when they're able to shift back out of that primal response, now they're licking each other's wounds. And you're like, what the heck has happened here? Because it's a total shift, and they also call it prey shifting or prey drive, which is why we have to keep small dogs and big dogs separate if there's a large expansive space for them to run across, because even if they're best friends, that large dog could clock that little dog as prey just because he's running, and he actually doesn't want to kill his best friend, but he shifts into something that is really primal, and we all have it, and he doesn't know what he's doing, kind of. He shifts into something that is where there is no judgment, meaning judging the fact, I love this animal. This is my brother, doggy. It's interesting. This is where they are. But the last thing I want to talk about, and then I will take your calls, is so far as cats in particular. Now, there are some people who are, this is going to be a very generalized conversation, but it's just something that I want to discuss about whether we should let cats be indoor only or whether they should be indoor-outdoor. Now, there are a lot of different circumstances here, but I do want to address the fact that cats, again, they are domesticated animals. Now, they are a little less domesticated than dogs by a couple of generations, I think it is, but they still are domesticated animals. So when we let our cats outdoors, they will engage in primal nature. So they will be out there not only hunting, but they may shift, if at some point they may shift into primal nature and you won't see them again, which is why I say with natural disasters, be careful. Do they need to be in that environment? In my opinion, they don't need it. And if you live in a city, it is going to be healthier for your animal to be indoor only. I had a case once where this person had her cat for, I think the cat was 8 or more, it was an older cat, and she suddenly thought, I feel guilty and I need to let my cat go roam outside. Well, the cat got promptly lost because she got scared when she got out there. She doesn't know what to do about it. And the cat actually asked me, like, why did she do that? And basically, she was one of the animals who explained primal nature to me. She's like, I don't know how to resist that, and I'm scared out here now. And so then she let it, finally got her back. We did get her back. And now, of course, the cat's yelling at the door because now she's got a taste of it. It's kind of like getting a taste of drugs. So it took her a while to be transitioned back to an indoor-only cat. My cats, the walls could be blown off the house. They are not leaving. Especially my little Delilah. She was feral for the first 12 weeks of her life. She's like, I am not interested in what's going on out there. I've been there. I've done that. And it was not as nice as my couch. She gets it. So now, there are some situations where having an indoor-outdoor or an outdoor cat is amazing. Now, you still are, because it may be more of a natural environment, and so there aren't streets, or there are hardly any streets. And but I would still say having a stable food source and a place where they can find shelter is really important to to support what is biologically their domesticated nature. And the thing about it, I just want to point out, is that if you live in a city, or even if you live in anything that has some sort of human conventional construction around, they aren't really ever totally in a natural or wild environment. So they aren't out there living a life that is natural to them, a life that they understand. They don't understand roads. They didn't put them there. So I want you guys to understand that. You can have indoor cats who are incredibly happy with their life the entire time. This goes also to birds, because birds who we bring into our family, I know I've heard people say, that's so awful, they're in a cage. When a bird is domesticated and tamed, they are really happy inside a cage, and it's actually very natural for them. It feels natural to them because they don't actually just go fly around just for giggles. I mean, some do. You see birds like soaring around. They do need exercise, but they mostly, especially the birds that are domesticated, that we domesticate, they mostly forage, and that's why they move around. They spend most of their time in the comfort of a tree and with their flock and their bond mate. So a bird in a cage, if you leave the bird's cage open, they usually stay inside. My birds were in cage, out of cage. I'd left the door open all the time. They still spent most of their time inside the cage. So just so you understand some of the things about that. And now I would like to take some calls. I know I went on for a while, but I just had so much on my heart, and I haven't been able to sleep because these topics had to come out. So let's take a caller. Okay. Hello? Anyone there yet? Almost.
Hi,
Oh, hi there. Who's this?
this is Sarah.
Sarah? Hi, Sarah. Is that with an H at the end?
It is.
Oh, great. How are you, Sarah? What's going on today?
I'm doing great. I'm just listening to your conversation. It's awesome. I've always had such a strong connection with animals, and I've always had animals around me my whole life. So I would love if there's any kind of messages, maybe, or
Yeah, sure.
I also lost.
What? Go ahead, honey.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just okay. When I was young, I also lost a dog that I was really close to, and it was really hard for me when I was really young. So it'd be awesome
I'm so
to
sorry.
get any information.
Was the dog white?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Was he kind of medium-sized?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. And was his hair a little on the long? Tell me what kind of breed was he? A little longer hair? And what is his name? I just want to.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was his name?
It was Rascal.
Rascal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, Rascal is with you. He was very excited. Were you already talking to him before you got on the call with me? You were thinking about him a lot. He was really close. He's giving you kisses. He's showing me you were about, I can't tell exactly. I see a picture. It looks like you could be 8, 9, 10, 11, something like that. Is that the time that you guys were really close?
Yeah, I was about 8 years old.
Okay. Yeah, and did he play? I see you guys playing together. It looks like there was some tug of war, and then maybe you tossed something for him. He's remembering some of those times. I know that's kind of general, but
yeah,
he's
there
just,
was.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, so he's with you all the time. And Rascal, he says that maybe down the line he would want to come back to you, but it seems like right now he's really happy with the work that he's doing with you. He is very wise. He sits over your head while you're sleeping. And what else about Rascal says that you are an animal healer as well. You know you have that presence with animals. Animals are attracted to you. They want to be in your energy, and that's because you're a natural healer of animals, and they love you. You get them. It's like you have that simpatico thing with animals right away. So, yeah, I would suggest you talk to Rascal. Just imagine him. Let your imagination open up the remembrance of him, and then you can feel his presence, and you'll get some messages from him. Are you there?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I can definitely feel him as you're talking.
Oh, good. Well, thank you so much for calling in. Thanks for Rascal for calling in, too.
Thank you so much.
All right. All right, let's take another caller. There you are.
Hello.
Hi, who's this?
This is Erica.
Erica, how are you today? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm good. I just happened to come across your video on Facebook, and I'm like, oh my God, I hope I could get through.
Oh, thank you.
So
Glad you did.
Yeah. I actually had a dog when I was a little girl, and she was taken away from me by my stepmother, and I never knew what happened to her.
Okay,
I don't know if you could.
I would, yes, but yeah. I just have to tell you something, Erica. Jarvis, he's always looking for photos to put up while, on the video. And when you said little girl, Jarvis had up on the screen a picture of me with the dog whose name was Little Girl. I just have to say that.
Oh, really?
So
that's so funny.
That's a big sign that I have to get back into your business. Jarvis is crazy. Jarvis is always like over there, like just being telepathic. He saw me go like, what? Because I was shocked. I was like, how does Erica know that dog's name? Okay.
But you know what's funny, though? A strange thing. I'm a little clairvoyant myself. And when you were giving the previous girl a reading, I was seeing some of the same things you were seeing.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that just got chills. Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
I was like, oh my God, that's so strange.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was cool. So we're connected.
Yeah, no, we all four are. Wait, how many of us are there? All three of us. There's an animal here too. But Jarvis, you and Jarvis are connected. You just both divined that picture of little girl. Okay, so your stepmother took away your doggie, you said?
Yeah, she took her. She took her away when I was an adult. I was off to work. I came back. She was gone, and it was really, really hard.
Okay.
Her name was Darling.
Oh, and was she this kind of camel colored, like the brown color, light brown color?
Well, maybe that's Gizmo because I think he's still alive, but I had to give him away. He's brown. Darling was white with black.
Okay. Okay, let me see then. Darling was white with black. Let me just feel into that energy for you. And so was this about, you said it was when you were an adult that Darling was taken away. Was it about 7 years ago or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, more or less something like that.
Okay. So, I mean, I think she is passed now. So your stepmother just took her away and never explained anything? I'm trying to feel into what happened here.
Yeah, she said she gave her to someone, but we don't know because she was just lied a lot and stuff.
Okay.
It was a very crazy relationship.
Well, I feel like
so that was
she didn't take her
traumatizing to me.
I'm so sorry, honey. What it feels like to me is that she didn't take her like right to. I think she did give her away to someone. Is what I'm not getting a real clear message. I would get a clearer message. I usually work with the animal photo, so I can really hook into their energy.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, but that's fine. I'm seeing what I can pick up by just tapping into your energy. And what it feels like to me is that Darling lived a couple of years past that. So it seems like she wasn't actually just, if you're wondering, like, was she taken to the vet and just put right down? That isn't what I'm picking up right now. It seems like she had a couple of more years. It seems like a little less than 2 years of life. And it seems like she was with, it looks to me like a couple. And maybe there was a grandchild or something like that, because it seems like a couple that may have been a little bit older, not old, but maybe maybe in their 60s or something like that, 50s or 60s.
Yeah,
who could have had a grandchild. Does that seem like it's a possibility? Maybe someone that she knew.
it's possible.
Okay, well,
I just
think
wanted
it was
to know if she was okay.
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm not picking up anything that seemed really traumatic on her side. I mean, of course, changing homes when you don't really know why, that was something to get over. But it feels like she probably carried out her life purpose and submission with those folks as well. But I think you can be at ease about the fact that it wasn't like she was just ripped out of her house and taken to the vet and put down. It feels to me like she had, a natural ending. So. But yeah, well, you can reach out to her too, darling. You're clairvoyant after all. You divined an animal into my show.
I know, that's so strange. So you were probably, I haven't really felt her, but I have had dreams with her. But Gizmo, even though he's alive, sometimes I have felt him.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I think he was showing up. Is he on the smaller side, Gizmo?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that's who I picked up at first. But no, I mean, yes, animals are telepathic. So when I start talking to people, their animals show up who are alive as well. So it isn't as much like, when you're talking to a person, and sometimes you can feel the energy of their friends who are alive, but, when they're on the other side, they show up mediumistically. So, yes, I think Gizmo was showing up for you, and his heart is with you all the time, especially if you feel him all the time, though. But, Darling, if she's showing up in your dream, then I think she's definitely, you can connect with her, and you can find out. And the thing is, it doesn't really matter that she's moved on now, because she's had her natural life. So, they'll tell you about it, but she would just be shifting you back to the fact that, hey, let's be in love again. Let's just have our unconditional love. So, it always, when they're on the other side, they'll always tell us everything happened exactly as it was supposed to. I learned so much. I did great work. You did great work, So be at peace no matter what. All right. Well, thank you so much for calling.
Thank you so much.
That was fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk to you again. Thank you, Erica. Do we have some time, Jarvis? All right, cool. We'll take another call. Hi, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hi, this is Sean.
Hi, Sean.
I've listened to your show a lot, and you actually helped me with Rusty, who was a cat that adopted me, and he said I have healing hands, which still amazes me.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But one of the things you brought up about, when we lose our pets, it's always tragic.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But I have a Snoopy 4, and it's because all three Snoopies had the exact same personality. And I do believe that when you form a bond with a pet, they do find a way to come back to you.
Yes. Yes, sometimes they do want to stay on the other side for a certain amount of time because, they want to be a spirit guide for you. But yes, it pretty much, if you wanted them to come back, they'd be like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, they would definitely come back for you if you really asked, if you really wanted to. But sometimes when I connect with an animal on the other side, they're like, yeah, I'm going to chill here for a while. I'm doing this work for you. I'm protecting you, But absolutely, I love, and if you, that is something they will do too. Like you say, he had the same personality. They will show you signs of who they used to be so you can carry through some of that love and some of that work that you were doing together. That's awesome, Snoopy 4.
Yeah, and actually I had a black cat that started showing up on my patio. And I remember you told me my grandmother sends it to me knowing I'm an avid animal lover.
Oh.
And I'm actually wondering, I named him Kofefe, and I'm actually wondering, because of his personality, if he is a cat that I had when I was a kid named Spooky. They're both black, and they have very similar personalities. But for people that have indoor cats, one thing that really pays off is if your cat is playful, is to play games on their level.
Yes.
Like with my cats, I will hide behind the dresser and let them stalk me.
That's awesome.
And they come up and they puff up and go sideways, and then they run off and want me to stalk them.
Yeah.
And if you learn to play games on their level, they connect with their primal, but you're actually satisfying their needs too.
Absolutely. Oh, 100. Thank you for bringing that up. Definitely, we need to make sure that we get that play. They want to play together. Actually, it was funny. My husband, I have my Delilah, a little kitty, and I have Franzi, who's a really big guy. And Franzi comes over, and he'll just kind of give Delilah a little swat. He wants to start some business with her. And she never wants to, all she ever does right away, she starts hissing and she walks away. And my husband was like, does she even like Franzi? Like, that's all she ever does is hiss at him and walk away. And so I talked to them about it, and it was just kind of like, she's like, yeah, that's our game. That's it. It's not a very long game. So we were judging it like, shouldn't she want to play with them? And it was like, well, that was the whole game. It was, she likes to hiss at him, and then that ends the little play. But absolutely, that engagement. We have to have a few different toys because we have 3 cats, and they all have different kinds of play energy and different games they like to play. And it's very important. I love that you hide behind the dresser.
Oh, they love it when I play at their level.
Yes.
When I stalk them and they stalk me, and I think it's good to get down on their level and play at their level, because they're more emotionally healthy. They get their play time.
Yes.
And I think it's important.
Yes, absolutely.
It was kind of funny when you brought up about rocks and plants, because this is probably a little bit before your time, but when I was a kid, I was so addicted to the Schick Sun pictures.
Schick Sun.
Where scientists were actually doing experiments on plants. They were hooking them up to complex galvanometers or lie detectors.
Yes.
And they would tear a leaf off a plant and watch its reaction. And I think in the technological world, we've lost touch with the fact that everything we run across is sentient.
Yes.
I remember an experiment they did where they put the probes in a yogurt culture, and then a yogurt culture that was on the other side of the room, they fed some milk and sugar. And the yogurt culture that was hooked up to the lie detector basically showed a reaction because it knew the other yogurt culture was being fed, and it wasn't.
Oh, it got jealous.
I wonder where we've lost that wonderment and that exploration of, for lack of a better word, I wonder where we've lost that wonderment of consciousness, where we step outside the bounds of established science and say, what is really going on here?
Yes.
And what can we understand?
That's so true. And it's interesting because, well, quantum physics is starting to discuss, really put some scientific stamp on the things that we who are metaphysically and spiritually minded experience, And however, science itself, to me, sometimes I see people sort of treating science like a religion. They aren't allowed, they put limitations, they're very dogmatic about it, and they aren't allowed to experience something outside of what science is telling them. Science is just a man-created system, and it's only about 300 years old. So it doesn't make sense to make it the new religion that limits us from our experience. And I agree, that wonderment, that creative exploration is so important for the human experience, for the living experience. And it's something that animals allow themselves to have.
Oh, I agree, too. In fact, I did a term paper because of the work of the anesthesiologist and the physicist that found, quantum interactions going on in the brain. I did a term paper for college on that quantum physics may be the answer to ESP, telekinesis, and what Raymond Moody calls SDEs, or sympathetic death experiences, where somebody you love is dying and you feel it, and you know it. Anyways, my question was more of a human nature.
Okay.
A couple years ago, I started. When I moved to Wichita, I hardly knew anybody, and a friend of mine encouraged me to write to prisoners. And he says, if nothing else, you're a good-natured soul. You can give them encouragement and everything. So I did. And there's one woman in prison who I've continued to write to. I go visit her as well and everything. And I always question where we are, because she amazes me. She's turned her life around so much. She's going to school. She gets encouraged by the fact that I'm back in college trying to finish my degree. And sometimes, she'll be like, you're so wonderful, I love you. And then other times she's like, well, you're just a friend.
Oh, so you're saying that you may be getting romantic? You're not sure?
I know how I feel.
Okay.
But it seems like she kind of goes back and forth. I don't know if she's just insecure.
That's probably it. Yeah.
I think she's absolutely wonderful. I call her Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. That's her nickname. In fact, I promised her that when she got out, I'd have a Christmas present for every year. And the first thing I got her was Wonder Woman pajamas.
Well, I think, Sean, that, she's protecting herself, and she probably feels, like you say, she feels insecure. She isn't really in the place where she probably feels like she isn't able to be, to offer you a full relationship. And so she's protecting herself a little bit and wanting to let you feel, wanting to see if you're gonna stick with this. You know how we do. We want to protect our heart a little bit. But I think that after she is released, that you guys can really explore that. I think she has feelings for you as well, but she's just protecting herself. Just be patient. Ooh, I am almost out of time. Sean, it has been so lovely talking with you again. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing your wisdom as well. I appreciate it. Let us know how it goes with that lady.
No, thank you for bringing up the topics you do, because they're really important. And I think in this age of technology, we've lost touch with the absolute wonderment of nature.
Yes.
I have feral cats that come eat on my porch. As soon as I get home from work, I have like 5 cats that are showing up waiting for me to go out and put food in the outside bowl. And
that's wonderful.
They keep their distance in a way, but they also will like roll on their back, showing that they trust me and everything. But
beautiful.
we've kind of lost touch with nature. Like you said, we don't grow our own food anymore. And I think that's an important thing, is that, we have to let animals be animals according to their primal nature, but it doesn't make things impossible. I have a possum because I put food out at night sometimes.
I'm sorry,
I
Jarvis
have
is
a
giving
possum that comes by.
Sean, I'm so sorry. Jarvis is giving me the sign. I am out of time, but I appreciate it so much. Thank you for calling in, and thank you everyone for listening. We will be back on Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific, our regular time. Do please go to my website, triciacarcharm.com/elementals for that class I told you about, or for my one-on-one work, triciacarcharm.com. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.